Good morning and welcome back to another episode of All In with Nate. We are previewing the Atlanta Falcons traveling to the New York Giants today at 1 o'clock p.m. on Fox. The Atlanta Falcons are looking to rebound after a three-quarter effort in Tampa Bay. The Falcons cut it to three before it became a total disaster. They lost 48-25 against the defending Super Bowl champions in Tampa Bay. Matt Ryan had a 300-yard day. However, the Falcons gave up two unfortunate pick sixes late in the game, which sent them to their doom, and they lost by 23. And they're staring at 0-3 if they can't win today in New York. On the flip side, we got the New York Giants, who had every opportunity to win their game last Thursday night in a thriller against the Washington football team. However, a boneheaded offsides penalty on a field goal attempt that was missed gave Washington another opportunity as they kicked the game-winning field goal to go to 1-1, and the Giants was sent to 0-2. Both teams are staring at 0-3 today. As we get started, we're going to go ahead and talk about the keys to victory for the Atlanta Falcons, the key matchups, the fantasy sitting stars, among many more topics that's going to help the Atlanta Falcons get off that slide and get their first win of 2021. Here is another preview from All In with Nick. All right, welcome to the show, y'all. As you saw, we're going to be talking about the Falcons and the Giants today. Coming into this game, the Falcons are 3-point underdogs on the road at New York because New York actually played a pretty good game, as I mentioned, against the Washington football team. Had a dumb penalty to lose a football game. But I'll say it like this. This might be the Falcons' best opportunity to win a game early this year right now, because as talented as much as the Giants have played well last week, the Giants come in with a couple of favorable matchups for the Falcons. However, the Falcons got a couple of obstacles they got to climb today to get this dub also, because we have a couple of injuries. As you all know, A.J. Terrell is out and Russell Gage is also out on offense for the Falcons. That's a big blow as far as the number 2 receiver. And A.J. Terrell is out on an already bad secondary. So we're going to have our hands full today. But, again, we're going to get to the keys of how we can beat the New York Giants today. Let's go ahead and get started with number 1. The biggest way we can beat the Giants is get Kyle Pitts and Calvin Ridley involved. This Giants secondary has not had a good start to the season. Actually, tight ends have actually done pretty well last week. I don't know if you all saw the game against the Washington football team, but Ricky Seals-Jones had a pretty decent day. Noah Fant had a good game week 1. So Kyle Pitts should have a good day against Jabril Peppers and Logan Ryan. He should have a good day. This is a very favorable matchup if you're the Falcons in the passing attack. As far as Calvin Ridley should also have a productive day as far as getting loose, getting open in this football game, because James Bradbury did not have a good game against Terry McLaurin last week in their loss against Washington. Again, the matchups favor the Falcons having an opportunity to win this football game. They have the pieces to do it in regards to the passing attack. However, it's all about execution. Again, this is the perfect opportunity for the Falcons to get off that slide. And I think that's one of the first steps right there to win this football game. Of course, number 2 is getting into the red zone, getting touchdowns. Last week, we did a better job at it when we got there. We got there several times last week. We actually did score touchdowns. They had to settle for a lot of field goals. Actually did a pretty good job with that. That has to be key again today. As I said, they're going to probably move the ball well because their Giants secondary is not that good. However, you cannot win a football game if you don't score touchdowns. You cannot kick field goals and make Young Hoku as your leading scorer in this football game today. That's not going to be able to work. Not going to happen if we're going to win this game. That's one of the biggest keys if we're going to win this football game today. Number 3, which should be number 1, which is probably the most obvious answer, is protecting Matt Ryan. You have to protect Matt Ryan in this football game if you're going to have a shot to win. The one thing I will say, though, the one key matchup I will be paying attention to is Jalen Mayfield is going to be going up against the defensive tackles, Dexter Lawrence, those guys for the Giants. It's probably if I would have to say, this may be the most favorable matchup the Falcons have had all season, because you've had to deal with Ndamukong Suh and Jason Pierre-Paul and Shaq Barrett, those guys last week. You dealt with Fletcher Cox week 1. So you got guys who, excuse me, I see some comments. I'm sorry. It didn't show up at first. But you got guys who are getting an opportunity to get after the quarterback this week, but I don't think that their defensive line stacks up to what we witnessed the first 2 weeks. Let me go to the comments. What's going on, bro? What's going on? Thank you for watching the show. Well, here, I appreciate you tuning into the Madden simulation earlier as well. But yeah, that's one of the biggest things. And one of the top reasons that it's so imperative to block for Matt Ryan is last week, of course, Jalen Mayfield had a bad week as usual. He's a rookie. This is second game. This is third game, actually. But Caleb McGrary, who was the first round pick 2 years ago, in my personal opinion, has regressed every single season. He had a bad showing in the second half. He played a big part actually on that first interception that Matt Ryan threw. It was a touchdown. He was completely bull rushed on that play. We've seen him happen even in 2020. Cam Jordan used to have a field day with him. He's not that good at right tackle. So that's going to be an issue that the Falcons are going to have to deal with today. They're going to have to move that ball quick. They're going to get quick passes, check downs. I don't care what you got to do. You got to get that ball out of Matt Ryan's hands. And on top of that, let me not forget this right here. Matt Ryan is not a mobile quarterback. He's not the guy that he was 4 or 5 years ago. He's basically a statue. If he does not get any chance to stand in that pocket, we don't have a chance to win this football game. Because, of course, he's not coming out that pocket. And then he barely has time to come out the pocket when he do try to come out the pocket. So, again, they got to figure out a way to protect Matt Ryan in this football game. Okay, number 4 is forcing turnovers in short possessions. Last week, we got 2 turnovers on Tom Brady, which is not often you can do. We got our opportunities last week. The offense didn't do anything with them when we got the opportunities, though. That's the biggest problem that we had one of the last things that we had to deal with last week. Also, it's going to be imperative because for the second time in 3 weeks, we're dealing with a mobile quarterback in Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, I'm not saying that he's faster than Jalen Hurts, but Jalen Hurts had a field day. He was able to get out that pocket and cook us, get out the pocket and do what he wanted to do, but they also had a solid offensive line. However, if you're the Falcons, the pressure needs to be put on Daniel Jones to not be comfortable in that pocket because if he does, it's going to be a long day. But on the flip side as well, the Giants don't have the solid offensive line that the Bucs and the Eagles did too in the first 2 weeks. So that could play a favorable matchup for the Falcons today. So we'll see how they take advantage of that. And I actually just said that it is not supposed to get pressure on Daniel Jones and let his mobility beat you. That's the biggest thing for the Falcons. One of the biggest reasons Jalen Hurts had a great day first week was because he was able to get after the quarterback. I'm sorry, he was able to get out of that pocket. We sent some blitzes. However, he did what he wanted to do. Played a big reason why we lost that game. Played a big reason why we couldn't get off the field on third down in that football game. Can't happen today. Or, again, we'll be standing at 0-3. But those are my keys right there. I do have several key matchups in beating the Giants. My first one I mentioned in my first one was Calvin Ridley versus James Bradberry. This is going to be an intriguing matchup simply because Terry McLaurin had a day on James Bradberry last week. Calvin Ridley has not had a 100-yard game this season. This would be the perfect opportunity for him to get going today because no disrespect to James Bradberry, but James Bradberry has not played up to the standards this season, and it looks bad on him at the particular moment. So if you're the Falcons, you got to exploit this matchup right here. This has to be exploited if you're going to get out of there with a win today. Next matchup is Kyle Pitts, as I mentioned earlier, Kyle Pitts versus the Giants safeties. He cannot sit here and not get going in this football game. They don't have an answer for Kyle Pitts. Those safeties will not be able to defend Kyle Pitts. I don't care how we're going to put it. This should be one of the big days for that rookie. He should have a big day today. Hopefully, they exploit the matchups as we're mentioning, and we can see this guy have his first touchdown or maybe first 100-yard game. Who knows? But again, he has to have an opportunity to get going in this football game. So that's one key factor right there. Another one is Dante Fowler and the Atlanta pass rush versus the Giants offensive line. Again, the Giants don't have a good offensive line. They have a good quarterback that can get out the pocket. They're going to have to put some pressure on Daniel Jones throughout this whole football game. Because if they're going to have a shot to win, that's the only way they're going to do it. AJ Terrell is out. Your secondary is depleted. You got to find a way to do something with that defensive line. They got to get after the quarterback. Dean Pease got to dial some blitzes up if he's going to be able to have a day today. He has a shot because they're not that good on their offensive line. But again, it has to be done. We can talk all day long about what needs to be done. They got to get it done today. That's going to be one of their biggest things in this football game. Because once again, you're down AJ Terrell. Fabian Moreau is an okay cornerback too. He shouldn't be your cornerback too, to be honest, at times, because he doesn't always have the best matchups. Isaiah Oliver, who you hear me give a lot of heat to, has actually played well in the slot, but it's going to be challenged today because he's going to be on the outside, which if you're the New York Giants, this is an opportunity for you to take advantage of today, because Atlanta's secondary has given up the most passing yards in the league and the most points in the league to this moment. Entering week 3, we've given up the most passing yards, the most points in the league all season long. So we're going to have to find a way to pressure that quarterback, get off that field, and make that offense beat these guys. And that's one of the biggest things in this football game for the Falcons as well. Now, those are some of my keys. I'm going to touch into, if you're a fantasy football player, I'm going to show you what ESPN is projecting for our guys, just in case you plan on starting a Falcon player or Giants player. We're going to start off at first with the Atlanta Falcons. As you can see, they are projecting Calvin Ridley to have they're projecting to have about not even close to 100 yards. They have him getting 6 catches for 76 yards and averaging about 16 fantasy points. They're expecting Mike Davis to have an average day at the office to get around 50 yards, and that's a pretty average day for him. He's going to average about 14 points. Let's go on to Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is supposed to have 4 catches for 46 yards and not a touchdown, honestly. Moving on down the list, Cordero Patterson. They have him projected to get 9 catches for 40 yards, 2 for 21. They got him having an okay day. So like 10 points. Let's go to Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan is projected to have around 273, a touchdown, pass, and interception. They're saying he's going to have around 22 points in this game, which is pretty unique for the Falcons. But all in all, I think they have us probably losing this game as well. Let's stop this one right here. We're going to go to the New York Giants. I'm sure a lot of people have been told to start New York Giants players. So we're going to go to them. Give me a second. Let me pull them up. Okay, on to the Giants. They have Saquon Barkley projected to have a decent day. Saquon has had 10 days off. Saquon has had 10 days off, but they're projecting him to have like 74 yards in the touchdown and a couple of passing yards, 17 points average. But I think this could be his breakout game today. So he would be a guy I would actually start, because until I've seen the Falcons defense slow down a running back, that's not going to work. I don't think it's going to work. So this could be a big Saquon day. All right, the second guy is Kenny Galladay. Kenny Galladay is projected to have 13.2 points. They're having him having 4 catches for 63 yards, 13.2 points, as I mentioned. They got Sterling Shepard having around 13 points today, 5 catches for 60 yards. Evan Ingram could be playing today. I'm not sure how effective he's going to be. I'll probably rely more on the receivers than anything else. They don't have Slayton doing much. But again, like I said, Atlanta's secondary is depleted. As far as Daniel Jones, they have Daniel Jones having 246 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. They have him around 19 fantasy points today. And Graham Gano, who probably won a lot of you fantasy points last week, he had 23 fantasy points. Let me see. Bryson said his breakout game. I'm just being honest. This could be his day that he go off against the Atlanta rushing attack defense that don't stop anyone. This could be his day. So, again, this is what they're projecting on NFL Network. So as you see, this is your guys. This is your projections. If you're having anybody that you're planning on starting for the Falcons and Giants game today. So, again, those are their projections on ESPN. Me, I have the Falcons actually winning this football game. I think they can pull it off. This will be their best opportunity to pull a game off before the New York Jets game in a couple weeks in London. But if you're going to have a chance to try to save this season before Washington comes in here next Sunday in Atlanta, you need to win today. They have a shot. They have a shot. However, that offense got to be clicking. I'm not really trying to find my team into a shootout right now either. That's another big thing for the Falcons. They don't need to get into a shootout today because if they get into a shootout, it's going to be a long day for the Falcons defense. Also, their offense has to be clicking. It has to be clicking. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But as I said, I have the Falcons winning a close football game today. I think they can pull it off. They need to pull a game off because Washington's coming to town next week, and you're going to be having a whole different issue dealing with Chase Young and that defensive line. Although their secondary hasn't been that good this year, however, they still have that front four, and with us having such a young and below-average offensive line, that could be a field day for them. That cannot happen in this football game. But those are my predictions for today. I will be back on here for the post game. Again, I have the Falcons win this game close. I'm not sure what you guys have them doing, but we'll see what happens. And this is All In with Nate. I'll be back on after the game to talk some more Falcon football. Y'all have a good afternoon and go Falcons.